Good morning, good afternoon, good day to all of you wherever this webinar finds you. Thank you for your time today. We appreciate it and we look forward for sharing our know-how and our experiences with you about the Europe environment, e-commerce and online marketing. So just while the last of you are logging on, a quick introduction. So I'm Rita Ben-Hada, I'm a Senior Online Marketing Manager at IBT Online, and I'm here today with my colleague Nora, who is a Senior Account Manager at IBT Online, and really pleased to be joined today by France. France is based in Texas and is an international trade specialist at the US Commercial Service. Most importantly for today, France is the Deputy Europe Global Team Leader for the US Commercial Service, reflecting his deep knowledge and experience of helping US exporters grow their business in Europe. In his spare time, he is also the Deputy Aerospace and Defense Global Team Leader at the US Commercial Service. This actually blends really well with his Europe focus as well as his location in North Texas. We're super excited to have friends with us today to share some of his knowledge and importantly, the resources America's exporters can access to grow their sales in Europe. So IBT Online is a full stack online marketing company, and this means that we design and build websites from distributor website to fully e-commerce enabled website. And we do all the online marketing that goes with this. So from the lightest touch of organic SEO to full social listening and social selling. We're known for our international scope, so we're online and we're international. There are dedicated online global programs for many US states. The goal of the program is to focus on top line growth for exporters. So providing online tools for US companies to grow their sales. We'll talk about this later during the presentation. We're also very proud to have signed a strategic partnership for e-commerce with the US Department of Commerce International Trade Administration. This is a screenshot from a dedicated page where you can find a lot of resources, most for free, about using e-commerce to grow your exports. So this webinar today is part of a series where we are running with the US Commercial Service and the E-commerce Solution Center. So please keep an eye out for more e-commerce focused events, and France will also give you some information about it. So about the agenda today, we're going to touch base on different topics about e-commerce in Europe. We'll start with France that will give you more information about how the US Commercial Service can help you. We'll also be discussing the European buyer persona and how to reach them. Big topic about the e-commerce marketing in Europe, events in Europe that will be presented by France, and finally, how to optimize European trade shows. So stick around till the end. We'll be sharing a lot of great information, and please don't forget to drop your questions in the chat and we'll answer them at the end. All right, so let's dive in and I'll hand it over to France. That's over to you.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you, everyone. So, as Gita said, my name is Franz Esselen. I am a senior international trade specialist here at the U.S. Commercial Services Dallas-Fort Worth office. I also serve as a deputy team lead for both our global aerospace and defense team and our global Europe team. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and get our presentation started. Next slide, please. So I wanted to kind of give everyone a big overview of the commercial service. I understand some of you may be familiar with us and some of you may not be. The U.S. Commercial Service is housed in the U.S. Department of Commerce. I wanted to present an org chart so you can kind of see where we fall in the government. We are in the Department of Commerce's Foreign Affairs arm, the International Trade Administration. We are one of three bureaus within the International Trade Administration, one of which being Enforcement and Compliance. Enforcement and Compliance, they are the law enforcement arm and trade law enforcement arm of the U.S. Department of Commerce. We also have Industry and Analysis, where they focus in on a lot of econometric work, and they also provide a lot of the numbers that we use to justify different trade policies or actions that we do take. And then there is myself where I'm in the U.S. Commercial Service. Our main focus is export promotion, where we help U.S. companies increase your global market share by exporting abroad. We also have an FDI component to our work, where we provide investment promotion. We also engage in commercial diplomacy, where we do a lot of government-to-government relations on behalf of U.S. companies, and trade advocacy. Whereas if or if a U.S. company was experiencing issues within a particular market, the U.S. government could advocate on your behalf. So next slide, please. So I also wanted to show everyone this footprint of ours. So the U.S. Commercial Service, we have over 100 offices, not only within the United States, but also around the world. In the United States, we are in every major metro city in America, and we also have offices in a lot of other parts as well. And around the world, we are scattered around our U.S. embassies and consulates. All of the red dots that you see on your screen here is where you would find direct U.S. commercial staff in the embassy or consulate. And in the purple dots are where our Department of State colleagues help us out with the commercial work in case we are not available there. So next slide, please. So I also wanted to take some time to quickly go over some of the services that we provide to U.S. exporters. On this screen here, you'll see our four main services, starting with export counseling. So export counseling is when you have a conversation with a trade specialist like myself. If you're thinking about exporting a widget into Argentina, Colombia, or in this case, Hungary or Poland, we would have a conversation about it, about where your company is, about your company's ability to export, and about your company's export plan. Usually, after that kind of conversation, where we decided where in the world we want to go, we would start going into figuring out what does the market look like in a particular country for you. So, in our market intelligence set of services, we do have our commercial staff in the embassy who do provide market intelligence reporting, who will also have a conversation with you about what's going on in the market in your particular sector in that country, potential political information that might be useful to you, or regulatory information. Usually at that point, should we feel that this is a fit and a match for that particular market for your company, we then move into what our bread and butter services are, which largely include business matchmaking. We have two different kinds of services in which we do that. We usually have one that's done online that we call an international partner search, but we really do prefer the one that we call our gold key service, where we invite you in country and we will set up to 5 meetings for you in country, with potential buyers, screeners, partners, or distributors. And then lastly, when it comes to our services, there is commercial diplomacy. Commercial diplomacy is more of a policy service, but it's used to address trade barriers for U.S. companies in a particular country, and or if a particular company is trying to bid on a country's public tender or public services. Next slide, please. So for what today's topic is generally about with IBT Online, we do also have an e-commerce solution center housed within the U.S. Department of Commerce, where we also provide an additional suite of products and services that are tailored to the needs of e-commerce businesses. So as we said here in the slide, e-commerce is growing. This is something that the Department of Commerce really is tracking, and it's something that more and more of my time as a trade specialist is being spent on assisting companies in this area. Next slide, please. I also wanted to present this slide to the group so we can see that we are projecting really, really staggering increases in e-commerce across Europe, and in the UK. These are very strong markets. These are markets that are very interested in American products and services, and we do see an opportunity for U.S. e-commerce to be able to penetrate across Europe and the UK. And some of the numbers here bear that out. Next slide, please. So as far as e-commerce is concerned, what are some of the best practices? What are some of the things that I advise my clients when I'm working with them? First and foremost is search engine optimization, and I'm sure IBT can also assist with that. Some of the basic questions is, can your website be found when it should? Can your website be found in a particular country where it should? So if you're thinking of targeting Hungary, does your website show up in a Google search there or any other search engine there? Another thing to consider is you making it clear on your website that you do international sales. And that doesn't only mean having an international shipping option when you're checking out. That also means making sure that you have key indicators across your website, whether that be cultural markers and or the translate button on your website for those languages for that target market. So again, using Hungary as an example, does your company have a button to translate your page into Hungarian? Um, Next is continually adding new content. This one really pertains more so to social media, but it can also pertain to your home website itself. We've all heard about feeding the algorithm, where you're always throwing content into social media, making sure you're constant communication with your target audience. But also outside of social media, I mean, this also applies to the home website, where if you're constantly refreshing, putting in new information, if you even have a small blog that's hosted on your own company's page, that can also do well for the algorithm. That can also do well for search engine optimization, to make sure that you're being seen where you want to be seen. Next slide, please. So our most popular service for the e-commerce solution does include our gap analysis report. Our gap analysis report is where we have our staff that's housed within the e-commerce solution center to not only have a conversation talking about some of the topics that I just went over, as far as what you should really look into, but they also start digging into the nuts and bolts as far as the technical aspects of what you can do to improve your website and your company's presence online. Um, a report like this usually takes up to two business weeks, and it's a nominal fee, as I say here. It's about $100 to $400 depending on the company size. It is a sliding scale, but what you do get is a pretty substantial report. That when you do receive the report, we would have a follow up conversation with yourself, myself, if I were your trade specialist, and our director at the e-commerce solution center, where we would talk about what are the impacts of putting in some of these changes to your website. And we also recommend different partners where you can go to get some of this implemented as well. So it's a really useful service. It's one of our most popular services that we use to help companies export globally. Next slide, please. And to conclude my intro here, I also wanted to show everyone this screen here. I mean, you can take a photo of it if you'd like. This is a listing of all of our free information and free services as to what we can do to help. Free resources that we can do to help U.S. companies to kind of start thinking about their exporting through e-commerce. Some of the tips that we can provide before even having a conversation with us. We have different items here that may be of use to different companies, such as social media forecasting, how to boost your SEO, spotlighting Africa, spotlighting European retail e-commerce. So I really do highly recommend if everyone can save this link and or take a photo of this so you can kind of see here. And we also do have a strategic partnership with IBT Online, who are the hosts of this podcast that we're very thankful for, and they do partner with us on a lot of these services to help U.S. businesses. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and just wrap up my little opening here, introducing the commercial service and e-commerce to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Franz. Very helpful information about our exporters. Um, we're launching a quick poll just to get to know you a little bit better. So are you already doing business in Europe? It's only gonna last a few seconds. Great engagement. Thank you so much. All right. So now I'll hand it over to Nora, who will give you more insights about the buyer persona in Europe.
Thank you, Rita. So talking a little bit about the European buyer persona and how to reach them. We will go to the next slide. Yes, buyer persona. This is a buyer persona example from Zipcar. Zipcar is a US-based company, and their mission statement even includes who their main target market is, or indeed their buyer persona will be. Urban, educated, tech-savvy, and environmentally conscious consumers. And if you look at their social media posts here, they are spot on. The imagery and the words reflects their mission statement and their buyer persona. And the good news for you is that this should not be too hard to do. You already know the main attributes of your buyer persona. Just get your sales and marketing teams all together or go to the library that the US commercial services can give you some advice on, and get them sitting around a table and just chat with them and ask them who their typical buyer is. And you for sure will have the profile to your buyer persona in Europe. Next. So this is your buyer persona and their journey. As you can see, for your international target markets, before you start your online marketing or building your international websites, you have to think about your buyer persona. What is important to know is how your international persona can differ from your US persona. On this slide are a few questions that you should ask yourself. Is my European buyer different from my US buyer? If so, how? You want your website to resonate with your local buyer persona. So here is an example taken from L'Oreal US. There's a subtle message here from L'Oreal US. The main hero image, as you can see in their homepage, shows professional women, and it's an urban contemporary scene. The woman all on the top floor of a building, all busy at work, all obviously with great hair. After all, it's L'Oreal after all. So L'Oreal France, for France, yes, thank you. So reflects and resonates more with the European market. It's a softer image and perhaps a more artistic and more individual, more aspirational, if you will. This reflects that L'Oreal is aware of international buyers and has chosen these images that resonates with their specific buyers. Next, we'll see an example of a social media post to show how different buyer persona interacts with social media campaigns. Rita will talk a little bit more about this after I finish, but this is an example from a Facebook campaign. We were promoting the same products, similar imagery and message, although of course localized and staying relevant to our local audience. You can see that there's a huge difference in terms of engagement. So if you look at the results for the specific post for Spain, in this case, over 1,200 engagements, and we were super pleased with it. But then when you look at Mexico, you can see we were blown away because there were more than 20,000 engagements. Okay. Next, we will see that preparation is key. It's important to take the right steps to get ready. Every marketing channel requires a structured approach to ensure you're always reaching the right people with the right message at the right time. So what do we mean by preparation? Step one, know your customer. That's your buyer persona. And your buyer persona not necessarily is a company, it's the specific person that will buy the product or service that you represent, like we just talked about. Define their journey. That's the buyer's persona journey. And then prepare relevant content, as Franz mentioned before, that address what they are looking for and add value. With a solid strategy, each piece of content on your website will have a specific purpose and target audience. And finally, choose the right platforms to reach your audience. Don't assume, please, that they are the same platforms as in the US. Your content should lead visitors and prospects down the sales funnel. Your website should have a variety of content that addresses different questions or concerns depending on where the prospect is in the client journey, from awareness to purchase to advocacy. For example, a blog is a great tool for building awareness, educating, and answering general questions about your products or services or the industry. But for a prospect who is evaluating your business or firm, a case study or a testimonial may be more appropriate to demonstrate your successful work or the successful work that you're done for your client, or if you have experience in the market. Next. Keyword research is key. Obviously, words matter. And Franz also mentioned that Google has over 90% market share in Europe, but getting the right keyword is still important. These keywords can differ from market to market. Here is an example that UK can be different from US. Here's an example specifically that the UK English and the US English is different. This is vital for search engine advertising. You need to make sure you're using the same language and the exact language your target audience is using in their search if you want to rank high and if you want to have a competitive edge. But this is also paramount for any content you create. And with content, I also include social media posts. That short snippet of text you include in all is all the audience has to make a decision, maybe even unconsciously, subconsciously, on whether they will engage with you or not. So using native language will help in building brand trust. Your content will feel local, relevant, genuine, creating a good local user experience. Next, I will just show internet adoption rates in Europe. The good news for you as a small, medium-sized company is that you know where your prospective clients are, what they are doing, and how to contact them, all through the internet. Not just prospective clients, but employees, distributors, and competitors. The internet is a great leveler. It allows you to punch above your weight and be on the same page as the largest global leader in your sector. And this is very important because no matter of your size. The conclusion is that the internet is a great way to connect with your prospects and grow business in Europe. In fact, if you don't have Europe-focused digital assets, Europeans will struggle to find you and be very cautious about doing business with you. Next is the e-commerce in Europe. France already emphasizes how e-commerce is growing in Europe. This is just a graph to show you B2C e-commerce across the world globally. The blue arrow is the United States with over 58%, even in some of the relatively weaker markets like Germany. There's still over 43% of internet users expect to shop online. The UK is one of the strongest markets in the world right now with over 60%. And I want to mention that you're seeing weekly online purchases here. Next. The next one is B2B, where European markets really rank much higher. Franz already highlighted the growth of B2B in his presentation, but I wanted to stress how important it is in Europe. This is one of the strongest trends we have seen among our clients in IBT and B2B companies requiring e-commerce functionality. Next. Respect your local buyer persona. So how do you reach your European prospects? Using online tools like website and online marketing. Here I have listed the 10 criteria that we use in IBT Online to determine a localized website. Note that language is just one criteria. Just as important is your domain name, the hosting, the regulatory environment. A lot goes into a localized website in order for search engine to find it relevant to your prospective customer so that you will be found, be understood, and easy to do business with. Hosting, for example. If you're not hosted optimally, then your website is too slow to bother. So if you really want good up and down low speed times, then you need to think about hosting. Of course, being mobile enabled is also super important as well, as your users will verify your site and social medias, of course, using their phones. The last piece of that I will be covering, it's also very important before handing the presentation to Rita, is online compliance. This is a must-have. Anyone dealing in Europe or with European clients has to be aware of GDPR. GDPR stands for General Data Protection Regulation, and to be short, privacy for Europeans equals the First Amendment to American citizens. Privacy is untouchable and should never be misused for other purposes than those for which authorization has been given. You'll find this basic principle when reading the EU objectives. So control over what is happening with your data is important, but not only control, being able to exercise the certain right over the data that is being processed is also important. The purpose of the present regulation is in fact making those rights global, since anyone, and it's very important to understand this, European or non-European processor who is processing personal data of European citizens has to comply. If not, there are real sanctions or fines up to 20 million euros or up to 4% of the company's global revenues, whichever is higher. So I think this is all from my side. I hope we have covered European buyer persona and how to find them. And now back to Rita. Thank you.
Thank you, Nora. Great information. We're launching another poll right now. So would you like to learn more about international website and e-commerce for Europe? Can leave it for a few seconds for all of you. Great. Thank you so much. All right, marketing in Europe for selling online. Let's dive right into it. So, social media is very important for brand research, and the blue arrow is in the USA. So, arguably, if you're going international, social media will be more important for you than the US. And now the average time on social media per day is nearly 2 hours and a half globally. So, next slide, please. For most companies selling anything, the question isn't if you need to participate in the e-commerce space, but when and how you want to start. So platforms going DTC, so you have in-house or out-house. In-house means that you build your own, and that means, for example, WooCommerce. It's a combined with WordPress, multi-sites, and today it facilitates international e-commerce. It has approximately 46% globally market share for international website. And then you have Outhouse. So Outhouse is rent a space, and that's, for example, Amazon. Next slide, please. So I want to look at some examples of online marketing with e-commerce. So here's a company called Oscarware. They make grill toppers. They actually invented the grill toppers, and they face a big problem. Similar products are being sold cheaper elsewhere. So that puts pressure on their prices. So to tackle this issue, they decided to create a powerful website and focus on marketing to build their brand awareness. So they realized that the best way to deal with the price competition was to make sure people knew about their brand and what makes the product special. So they focused on building a strong, unique brand presence to stand out from the competition. Next slide, please. So here are some examples of the marketings we're doing for them. So Oscarware has developed a very strong online brand identity, which is clearly reflected in our marketing efforts. So our strategies emphasize the unique value proposition and resonates with the target audience. So we utilize a mix of social media campaigns, SEO, and content marketing to ensure consistent and engaging brand messaging across all digital platforms. So by highlighting these trends and maintaining a cohesive brand image, we help Oscarware stand out in a competitive market. And here's another interesting example. This is Bluemaker. They are a leading provider of high-quality floral and gardening products. They are an American exporters. They're currently targeting some European countries, and their e-commerce strategy is quite robust. They're leveraging multiple major retail platforms such as Costco, Walgreens, Walmart, and Amazon to maximize reach and visibility. So Bluemaker is strategically enhancing its e-commerce presence in Europe to boost brand awareness and drive sales. So we leverage multiple digital platforms to reach diverse audiences using targeted and visually engaging campaigns. Consistent branding and messaging across all channels ensure cohesive customer experience. Data-driven insights allow us to optimize our marketing efforts continuously, and that help us improve our conversion rates and maximize our return on investment. So we also do seasonal promotions and influencer partnerships in Europe, further increase our visibility and engagement. So by refining our approach based on performance metrics, we maintain a dynamic and effective marketing strategy. This comprehensive approach positions Bluemaker for significant online growth in the European market. I want to show you another example as well that is quite interesting. So that's an example from Armor. It's a company based in Michigan. They do something that might seem ordinary. They wrap products to prevent rust, but they don't want to be just seen as just another industrial company. They want customers to know that real people are behind their work and they generally care about quality. So to make it easy for customers to buy from them, they've made their e-commerce website simple, clean, and well organized. This way, it's easy for clients to find what they need and place their order hassle-free. They focus on creating a personal connection with their brand, emphasizing the people behind their products, which set them apart from the competition. Next slide, please. So getting your pricing right could make or break the success of your e-commerce platform, and the process gets even more complex in an international context. So, will you charge the same price as in retail stores, or more or less? Will you require dynamic pricing for your partners, distributors, or valued customers? Will you need to collect and submit tax or customs? Will you offer discounts or coupons to support your online marketing efforts? All of these crucial questions related to pricing will need to be discussed and defined. Next slide, please. As Nora shared earlier, your website is really key. Think of it as your digital storefront, how users find about you, and your best opportunity to showcase your offering, products, services, UPS, and to build that trust that is so important in such a busy environment. So a few maybe simple but key elements to think about are clear navigation across product to checkout, clear display and USPS and leverage customer service, clear checkout process with an online purchase or order builder. And that's all I have. And I'll hand it over to Franz that will be telling us more about the events in Europe. Franz, over to you.
Thank you for that, Gita. I'd like to take some time to talk about how some of our trade programming works in Europe. So, kind of taking things a little bit offline and more in person. Um, we have a variety of different programs and services that we offer in person for companies who are attending trade shows or at trade shows. And we also put on specific trade events. So, starting with our trade shows. So, we have two kinds of services that we provide. One is a trade show representation. So, if there is a trade show that you are interested in your particular industry sector, and our agency will be there and you may not, sometimes we do offer trade show representation where our commercial staff from the local embassy or consulate that'll be attending the show can go to different companies at the show on your behalf and to be able to drop off your information and to help facilitate a future meeting for you and a company that they met at a trade show for you. So this is something that's really popular, happens all the time. The next is our trade event partnership program. This is something that we set up with trade show organizers on the behalf of U.S. exporters. So at some trade shows, we try our best to see if we can potentially have a U.S. pavilion where all the U.S. companies are housed in one place in a particular trade show. And what we try to do at these events is to invite an international buyer delegation, especially for trade shows that are taking place here in the U.S. And an example of this is a trade show that I personally attended and worked at a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago now in San Diego. It was a drone show where we invited our commercial staff from around the world, and they each brought an international buyer delegation for the American companies that were exhibiting there. So we have roughly 100 people descend on the trade show, and we work to set up meetings for you at these trade shows with these international buyers that are attending, number one, and or to set up meetings for you with either U.S. government officials that are attending, or sometimes host or foreign government officials that might be attending trade shows. So this is very popular, and we try to do this as much as we can. Next, I'd like to talk about is our trade missions. So trade missions is usually when we select an industry sector and or a particular country, and we recruit a cadre of companies to bring them to a particular country, and we provide a suite of business-to-business matchmaking meetings and events, and business-to-government matchmaking meetings and events, where we have receptions, and we also potentially do site visits where the companies that we invite can get to know an American company that's operating in market. The site visits are usually at different facilities or whatnot, so you can get a firsthand knowledge as to what is happening and how to do business in that particular market. So kind of want to provide this broad overview as to how we do our international trade programming. So next slide, please. And here on this slide are some examples, past and future, of what we do in Europe as far as trade programming is concerned. So here on the left, Trade Winds. Trade Winds is our flagship trade mission, where we not only have all the bells and whistles that I discussed just a second ago regarding trade missions, but we also have a large international trade forum as well, at one destination in one continent, and then we have spin-off events across the continent. So very recently, just about a month ago, we had trade winds take place in Europe, where the main hub took place in Turkey, and then we had spin-off events in Italy, Romania, Denmark, Poland, and Kazakhstan. Next year, we are going to be going to Latin America, with our main hub should be in Brazil. Right below that, you'll see some of the recent trade missions that have taken place in Europe. The most recent one I was able to attend is the U.S. Aerospace and Defense Trade Mission to Romania and Poland, where we had a similar programming exactly to what I just described. Last year, we had a tech and energy trade mission to the Western Balkans, which that was arranged slightly differently, where we had a hub take place in Belgrade in Serbia, but we had a forum where it was a Balkan event. And also, we try to set up these matchmaking meetings based on the needs of the host market. So in a highly regulated sector like energy and tech, in the Western Balkans, most of those meetings tended to be between U.S. companies and those government officials. We can also see some of the different TEP, trade event partnership programs, that have recently taken place. So our agency earlier, I believe later this year, we will be attending for the Farnborough Air Show. Last year, we were at the Paris Air Show. Starting this Saturday through next week, I will be attending the Eurosatori World Defense Show in Paris. And just a few weeks ago, we did have the World Hydrogen Show take place in the Netherlands. So we have these kinds of events happening all the time. We have more coming up throughout the year. I believe we have a large advanced manufacturing show taking place. We just also recently had the Black Sea Defense Show taking place. So if you guys are interested in any particular trade shows in your industry sector, don't hesitate to reach out to me. My information should be coming up here in a second. But also what we also do a lot of webinars as well, where we have a webinar describing the market in different groups of countries across Europe. So we're currently in the middle of our doing business in webinar series, and our next one is I believe is actually going to be Serbia next. where we'll be inviting Serbia, Bosnia, and I believe one more country to talk about the market, priority industry sectors, and inviting U.S. companies that are operating in the market to give you the latest information as to how to operate in Europe. So with that, as I said earlier, my name is Franz Esselin. I am the Deputy Global Team Lead, and I am stationed here in Dallas, Texas. If you have any questions regarding any trade programming regarding Europe, aerospace defense, or e-commerce, there's my email. Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. All right. Well, we're going to dive into the European trade shows and how to optimize them. Next slide, please. So digital solutions are the key to your trade show success. So whether they are hybrid or in person, your prospects and client expects you to have a digital strategy and to provide an experience for the prospect where they can reach you and connect with you in different ways. This is true, especially for trade show, as you'll be meeting prospects are at very different stages of the buyer journey, and therefore they want different things. Remember that digital strategies helps you create more opportunities to create and to connect, and we'll go through these digital solutions in our upcoming slide. So your event strategy should be tailored to your industry and objectives, but it must include key digital elements for success. So a dedicated landing page is essential. I always recommend that to my clients as it serves as the go-to resource for prospects to learn more and register. Social media platforms like Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, depending on your objectives, helps to promote the event and engage with potential attendees. So incorporating videos enhances appeal and engagement, providing dynamic content that can capture attention and convey information effectively. Capturing leads through various touchpoints ensure you can follow up with attendees and measure the event's impact. And finally, the post-event phase. I feel like a lot of the clients that I've seen, they don't really take the post-event phase as seriously as the actual event, but the post-event phase is crucial. It's crucial for maintaining engagement through follow-up emails, surveys, and sharing highlights on social media. There's so much you can do. By integrating these digital elements, you can actually maximize the reach and impact of your event. Next slide, please. So a structured social media approach ensure you reach the right people with the right message at the right time. By building brand awareness, you establish a strong online presence that resonates with your target audience. So sharing insights and valuable content positions your brand as an industry leader and foster trust. So promoting offers, discounts, and events keeps your audience engaged and drives conversions. Consistent and strategic use of social media platforms as well maximize your reach and effectiveness. Tailoring content to each platform's strengths ensure optimal engagement and results. So this approach not only enhances your brand visibility but also drives business growth. Next slide, please. Um, Creating specific content calendars leading up to the trade show can help you ensure that the content that is appropriate, on message, on brand, and delivered at the right time. So all ramping up at building the interest for the actual event. We recommend designing and launching your content calendar actually 6 weeks ahead of the event, and then continue for the 6 weeks after. So it will really help you map out what content you need and when. So creating a content calendar is the best way to achieve your reach and will ensure you're delivering your messages in a coherent and structured manner. And to maximize your return on investment and ensure the biggest reach, we also recommend a combination of organic and paid. Do one boost the other? For example, Facebook campaigns running both organically and promoted will work really well to help you build your brand awareness, share insights, and promote your attendance at the upcoming event. Next slide, please. Make sure to include videos in your content calendar. So why do we stress the videos? Social media platforms are increasingly video friendly. All platforms you're using for your business are optimized for video content and sharing. LinkedIn, for example, recently said that it is a content first and video first platform. This gives you an idea as to how important videos are. Next slide, please. Um, so having an online landing page that is bespoke to the event you are attending is in fact a priority. At the physical trade show, have a QR code on your stand so that a prospect who is perhaps not quite ready to engage with you can scan it and be directed to your landing page to learn more about you. For a virtual event, use the landing page as a shareable piece of content. If you are presenting or having conversation with a prospect, share this link so that the lead can learn more. And the landing page as well is an important part of lead nurturing, as you need to be offering content that is right for where the prospect is on their buyer's journey. And you shouldn't be sending the prospect too much information, so case studies, etc. At this time, whether a landing page is a concise or well designed snapshot of who you are, your industry, and what makes you special. Next slide, please. So now that you are at the actual event, it's time to connect with those prospects that you have been researching in the lead up to the event. Now is the time to message those prospects to meet up either virtually or physically and continue to leverage your social media content to bring the event to your broader audience who aren't attending. So at the event, you need to be posting content from the show itself. Your post could include photos, live streaming of demos or keynote speakers, schedules, your booth location. This allows your recent connection and prospect that you are interacting with at the trade show to situate you and learn more about you, but it also speaks to your wider audience and followers. By keeping your followers updated with the trade show, you are providing them valuable information and generating interest in your company and products. The other point as well that I want to mention is use social media to encourage people to interact with you as well at the event. Thank you. I was going to say next slide. So I already mentioned the importance of a QR code, but here's an example. So this QR code takes you to the dedicated landing page. This is crucial when prospects are not ready to talk about to you directly, as I mentioned earlier. And the importance of the QR code is that you are enhancing that omni-channel experience that your prospect wants, as in a customer experience that is seamless and unified regardless of the channel that the prospect is on. So therefore, allowing the prospect to move easily between social media to your website and back again in their own time. This is a more personalized and adaptable approach as the prospect can search and learn about you in the preferred way. Next slide, please. So finally, the last digital assets to leverage in your post-event strategy is the valuable content generated from the actual event. So this includes presentation you made, live streams recorded, Q&As that you participated in, blogs, etc. So turn these valuable assets into long-term shareable content that sits on your website and your social media accounts. This content includes articles that summarize the event, speakers, etc. So this kind of content is great to include to your wider audience and provide insights and prospect and customers who were unable to attend the event. Top tip here, what you learn from the conference should help drive your future content and strategy planning. So I have next slide, please. And that's all I had. Yeah, so trade shows and takeaways. I think we have a poll going on right now. So would you like to learn more about online marketing and optimizing trade shows? And then we'll dive into the Q&A session. I've seen some questions in the chat. This is your last chance as well to drop your questions after you voted. Great engagement. Thank you so much. Perfect. So I've seen some questions. All right. I have a question for Nora, I think. Nora. Um, how can businesses define the European buyer persona and reach them effectively?
Well, businesses can define their European buyer persona through, besides talking to their salespeople and distributors, through detailed market research and segmentation. So they can reach them effectively using localized content, target advertising on platforms like Google Ads and social media, and partnerships with local influencers and distributors. That's important. That's what I saw that works a lot from a lot of our clients in partnership with international distributors, European distributors that are not on the field and can give them some feedback to create those profiles for them. And of course, regular analysis and adjustment based on customer feedback, because that's your start point, but you have to ensure that you are relevant continuously and creating engagement as you learn more about your European buyers. Thank you, Rita.
Thank you, Nora. I have a question for France as well. So how can the US commercial service assist US businesses in maximizing their presence at events in Europe?
Um, what we can do is talked about some of what we could already do, such as trade show representation, um, or if we're already having a trade event take place. One thing that I also do recommend is if you are going to a particular trade show in another country, um, it would be very helpful if you reached out to the embassy to make sure if there's any programming taking place. And if there isn't any programming taking place, you could still have a conversation with our commercial staff to help maximize your time at the trade show, provide potential leads, and or help set up meetings for you at a potential trade show.
Thank you, France. I've seen a lot of questions of comments saying, are we going to receive the slide deck? So yes, everyone will receive the slide deck, the recording of the whole webinar within 24 hours. And I've seen another question as well. I think I will take this. It says, what are some key considerations for successfully implementing e-commerce marketing to increase exports to Europe? So successful implementation of e-commerce marketing for export growth involves strategic planning and adaptation, and it's crucial to conduct a thorough market research to identify your target demographic, your consumer behaviors in the European countries. So tailoring marketing messages and offers to align with local preferences and regulations ensures relevance and compliance. So the other thing as well is establishing strong logistic and customer support systems enhance the customer satisfaction and retention, and is crucial for sustained export growth in the competitive European market. And I think that's all I have for today. I've seen some other questions, but we will get back to you by email directly. As Franz mentioned, we do have the his email address in the slide deck. We'll share it with you in the chat as well, just in case. And yeah, and just to summarize and to close this webinar, and as a reminder, the exporting is tough. Social media is crucial. You're not alone. The US commercial service is great. France is here to help. If you got any questions about how the US commercial service can help you, as I mentioned, please feel free to reach out to him. He has his email in the chat and in the slide deck that you will receive tomorrow. On our end, if you have any questions about how we can help you grow your exports, sales, brand, and business internationally, please do not hesitate to reach out to us. Thank you all so much for your time. We appreciate it, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.